Welcome back to Arts Weekly. Joining me is Phillip Colglazier, Executive Artistic Director of the Fort Wayne Civic Theater, here to talk about what's coming up at the Civic. Phil, good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
Well, you know, we're here to talk about the upcoming season at the Civic Theater, but the season's really already started. You actually just closed Hairspray not too long ago. How did that go?
It went very well. It was our summer production. We always start off our season with the summer, and then immediately went into our annual fundraiser. We made our goal with Fractured Fairy Tales, CSI.
Good.
Celebrities Act Up with local celebrities, and now we're right in the midst of rehearsals for the musical Chicago.
Right, which opens on October 29th, I believe.
Saturday evening, the 29th, and runs through November 13th.
Well, what's Chicago about?
It is a fun production. It's a Bob Fosse production that was done on Broadway, and we're doing it in his style with the choreography. Abigail Inger is doing the choreography, and it takes place in the Roaring 20s, but we're doing the revival version, which is very contemporary in its approach, and it has a cabaret nightclub kind of feel, story
it actually kind of takes place in a nightclub, yeah.
Right. And so it's very open, free moving, one simple set, one costume per actor for the most part. Props are minimized and mimed for the most part. But the music is wonderful.
It is.
It's a razzle dazzle. Other ones, All That Jazz, and the revival that Mr. Marshall did, the movie version, was incredible. And so we were very fortunate to get the rights to do it. It was originally we were denied, and so we appealed and were able to get the rights.
Yes.
And so it's a fun production. The leads are being played by Kelsey Rodriguez, who's playing Velma Kelly role, and the Roxy Hart role is being played by Jessica Butler.
Boy, it takes a lot of, it's a fun show. It takes a lot of dancing. When you think of the 20s, you think of all that fancy dancing, but Bob Fosse, who was the famous choreographer from, I guess, the 70s and the 80s, maybe the 50s and 60s, actually, really kind of contemporized the 1920s jazz dance. You know, Chicago is it's a play with femme fatales, corruption and greed, shameless self-promotion.
Yes.
All that stuff that was going on in the 1920s, but one cannot help but think that, boy, that has a lot of reflection on what's going on today.
True.
When you look at the play that way.
Yeah, and then the original writer wrote it when she was in college, and it was based on some actual trials that were going on during the 20s, and literally almost verbatim. When you look at the research of the two ladies and their storylines, and she blended them into one, tying them together, and it really makes a statement of what the media plays into the verdicts of these court cases, which is not unlike today with the O.J. Simpson, the Casey Anthony trials.
Absolutely. It's become a circus.
Yes, it's no different.
Absolutely, and there's such a circus atmosphere in Chicago. That's kind of the underlying message. But anyway, it's a really fun play, and I'm so excited about seeing it. But following Chicago, you have a Tuna Christmas that's opening on December 12th.
It's December 2nd through the 18th.
Okay.
And it will be taking place at the Allen County Public Library at our second stage venue. And it will star Nick Tash and Mike Barkowitz.
Well, that's an interesting title, A Tuna Christmas.
Tuna Christmas.
What could that possibly be
about?
Well,
it takes place in Altoona, Texas. And what's funny about it is these two gentlemen play like 10 characters. And so they're always going in and out, making major costume changes, not only men roles, but lady roles. So it's a bunch of fury of activity and different personalities. And just to see it executed is very funny in that nature. But the script...
A tour de force for actors.
It takes place on a radio set of all the Christmas activity that's going on in the town. So you get all these kind of different characters from the community that go to put on these different Christmas activities. And so it's very funny, fast-paced moving, and it's going to be directed by Jane Fraser. Yes. And so she's making her debut as a director for us, and so we're very pleased to have her join us.
Phil, is it too late to become a subscriber to the Civic Theater?
Oh, no, it's never too late. We offer flex passes, which is 6 tickets that you can use for all one show or spread them throughout the whole season, including the second stage as well. And then we also offer business memberships, which are $24, that you can use throughout the season as well, same fashion. All of them for one, or spread them throughout, and that's good from year to date. So that could be even carried over to the next season.
Oh my gosh! So it's not too late, and you certainly save a lot of money by becoming a subscriber.
That's right,
and it helps you guys out as well. But moving on with the season coming in March. Gypsy, big one of the most famous musicals.
And you know what? It's one of my favorites. It was the first show I did in college, and so it has a special place in my heart. And I'll be directing it, and I'm looking forward to that opportunity. And the music is just incredible. It's one of the best constructed musicals.
Yes, it
Overtures as well, based on the life of Gypsy Rose Lee and Mama Rose, her mother.
Right.
And how she brought her child into stardom from childhood, and she becomes a stripper, which is handled very mildly compared to now today's content and ratings.
Certainly, high school students and people like that can come
definitely
to a play
not for
like
little
this.
ones. Not for little ones.
It's not a stripper show. But it's okay.
Yes, yes. But that is the content about her life, and it's very interesting to the American Beauty. There was a recent book based out on her life
about
as
Gypsy Rose Lee.
Yeah, so she was very had a wonderful career. It struggles to become stardom, but then once her career took off, it blossomed. But it's also about that internal relationship between her mother, being a stage mother, and her trying to make her own way in the world and into adulthood as well.
Right, and many people might remember the role made famous by Ethel Merman in the movie.
Correct.
I don't know if she did that on Broadway. Did she?
On the Broadway. The movie was Russell and Russell, I believe.
Oh, okay. So
yeah, and then the movie also was Natalie Wood. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Gypsy Rose Lee's sister was, what was the actress' name? I forget.
Yeah.
But no, it really is one of the great plays, and that's coming up in March. You follow that with, I think, a couple of very interesting plays. The Farnsworth Invention.
The Farnsworth Invention. It's based on the life of Philo Farnsworth, who is the original creator of the television, even though he did not get credit per se. It's written by Aaron Sorkin, who is an incredible writer and director. Of course,
Farnsworth lived in Fort Wayne.
Correct. Yeah. And the home is just right off of State Street there. And so it talks about his life and how his name to fame was almost attributed to that entirely to the invention. But it's also a tragic story about his life, too, in that regards, and his personal struggles with alcohol, and how he didn't get credit. And so it's very entertaining, a very intellectual piece, as Aaron Sorkin's writing is. It'll be guest directed by Mr. John Tolley, former artistic director of the First Presbyterian Theater, will be back. And that, again, will be at the Civic off Main, Allen County Public Library
at the
location.
Public Library down there. And following the Indiana theme, you have Dead and Alive in Indiana, which...
Actually, Alive and Dead in Indiana.
Ah, okay. I'm sure there's a difference. So what's that about?
And actually, it's based on a book by Michael Martone, who's a former resident of Fort Wayne. His parents, Patty and Tony Martone, are proud parents, and to help promote this as well. So he wrote the book, and then a gentleman that I went to college with, Doug Long, adapted the script into the play version. And so we're bringing both of them back as a part of the Playwright Festival to talk about the work of the playwright and the playwright adapter, along with the original author, to talk about that relationship. But the play itself has the characters of Dan Quayle, based on, as one of the characters, the Colonel Sanders and the Kinsey Report individuals. What's their names? Alfred Kinsey.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So it's all these different interesting short stories about these different characters and how they come to life and the dead characters as well. And that would be guest directed by Mr. Larry Wardlaw.
Oh, wonderful. You know what? I just remembered June Havoc. June Havoc was the sister of Gypsy Rose Lee.
Yes.
So, the mind is a funny thing sometimes when you're on TV.
Believe me, I know.
But you know what? You got a great season, Phil. And what a wonderful opportunity if people could still buy the Flex Pass and get a chance to see all the shows or just a few of them. It's really quite dynamic thing. So,
well, thank you.
And we didn't mention it, but ending it, the whole thing is the Playwrights Festival, which is a big thing that you guys do every year.
Correct, and we've actually had the submissions, and they're in the process of being read by our adjudicators, and it'll be announced in January who the winner is at the this year's third annual Northeast Indiana Playwright Festival.
Well, that's why we're going to have you on again to talk about all that stuff, but I just wish you the best with your season, Phil.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on.
Appreciate it.
For more information about the Fort Wayne Civic Theater and how you can get tickets or subscribe, visit fwcivic.org or call 424-5220. Arts Weekly airs every week, Tuesday through Thursday on College Access Television and on most Sundays on WFWA PBS 39. You can also see us on YouTube and Facebook and follow us on Twitter. I'm Chuck O'Connor. Thanks for tuning into Arts Weekly. Join me next week with guest Tom Hofrichter from the First Presbyterian Theater and J.L. Nave from the Fort Wayne Philharmonic.